joke with everyone that the Easy Bake is where my career started, because literally, like, that was my first time where I was like, oh my gosh, it's like this plastic toy where I was able to just create something, even though it was powder and water. And I was like, I made a cake. A big part of my story and what God has actually used, like, he really is the God of taking ashes and turning them into beauty, you know, and my life is a testament to that. I was just going down this one path, and it was like, you know, I graduated, I was working in the industry in Chicago, and ended up through a couple of connections getting an internship in Paris, France. I was like, yeah, this is great. You know, I'm thriving in my career. I met like my pastry idol, you know, and my boyfriend came and visited me, and now we're engaged, and I was just going down this one path. You know, you're just living your life. You're trying to figure things out, you're making friends, you're partying, you're, you know, whatever, but I just felt like, hey, something isn't right here. So I actually ended up breaking it off and finding myself in an extreme place of brokenness. And that is literally, in that moment, is where Jesus found me. And it was like, for the first time, I was like, I always say that like he loved me back to life again. You know, it's what he does. And I think now, and a big part of like Sea Love's story is seeing brokenness and knowing what he can do with it. At that point, I was so in love with him and like encapsulated in who he was. It's like the closer you get to him, you start viewing it as a relationship and you choose him, and like his love never changes for you. Like that is a place of like, you're laying it all down. During that time, the Syrian refugee crisis started getting pretty intense, and it was on the news a lot more. And so just through a lot of prayer and Jesus truthfully unraveling me and getting me to like discover who I really am in him, we decided to go to Greece and to just be his hands and feet. This is the food line at Moria. And so just like thousands and thousands and thousands of refugees waiting in line for food, which was catered in every day. This is the kitchen at Scala Scaminia, the first camp that we were at the first couple of weeks in Greece. We actually made meals here. Any refugees that came, we prepped things. But this pot, I remember making a lot of popcorn in. So I was in camp my entire time, but the last month I was there, they set up like this community center. And so women and children specifically were able to come and have tea. There was like a laundry area. And I had this moment where I was like, man, it would be so cool, because all these women were just like sitting against the wall, like watching their kids play with a couple of toys. And I was like, I would love to do some baking, you know, with some of these women. Like, that'd be a ton of fun, but the infrastructure wasn't really in place. It was more like we were all just surviving, you know? It was like we're just there and we're serving, and it's intense and you're in it. And I think God planted that seed, you know, in that moment where I was like, oh, man, this would be so cool. Like, what a way to gather people together. And so coming back from Greece, I felt empty in a lot of ways, and also this heavy responsibility to do something. You know, I think, like I had mentioned, God started unraveling me and just was teaching me to have identity in him first, like put him first. And then you can put pastry, you know, it follows after that. And so I started dreaming up the Sea Love Baking Academy during that time. En français, ici là est une conversation de mon amour, de Jésus, de la pâtisserie et des autres. Sea Love Baking Academy is a fully professional pastry training school for immigrant women. And it's also just my heart and the heart that Jesus has shown me and his love for me in just really seeing women and seeing them for who they truly are. Just creating a space of welcome in the kitchen is just kind of like the top of it, but underneath there's like community and welcome and showing the love of Jesus in a really simple and cool and creative way.
So you have this, and I kind of just give a little squat like that.
Watching my students in the first session was so humbling. Like, it was so surreal. Like, I don't know how to even describe it. To write the curriculum, first of all, and then see it played out live, and then see the students develop not only like with each other and like the way that they looked out for each other, but as confident women. Like, I remember by the time we got to like the pie and tart category, like over here we started like super easy with quick breads and like worked all our way, and just they were like stoked to do this like amazing fruit tart. They had like fondant decorations. They were like putting powdered sugar, and they're like, look at it, like look. They were all taking like photos on their phone. And there would be some days after class where I would just cry in my car and be like, God, thank you. Like, this is such a gift to me, you know? Because it's like you're doing not only what he's asking, but you're touching other people's lives, you know? And that is important to me. This call to love is so powerful. If you say yes to God, whether it's in exactly where you are for the rest of until Jesus comes back, like, just keep saying yes, you know? I want to get to heaven tired and say, like, I said yes to everything you asked me to do.
Right here, it's really tough to tell, and I wish there was a way. In 18 years, you will know.